one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Rose?
Here.
Councilor Angeloni?
Here.
Councilor Caprio?
Here.
Councilor Duty?
Here.
Councilor Esposito? Councilor Fawnin?
Here.
Councilor Tucci?
Here.
Councilor Wentworth?
Special Water Pollution Control Authority meeting, 7 p.m. public hearing regarding Gale Drive. The North Branford Water Pollution Control Authority will hold a public hearing at 7 p.m. Tuesday, March 20th, 2012, in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 909 Foxen Road, North Branford, Connecticut. The purpose of this public hearing will be to receive comments from the public regarding potential sanitary sewer installation in Gale Drive. All affected property owners shall have the opportunity to be heard regarding the proposed sewer construction. Are there any residents? Or Kurt, you want to go?
Yeah, good evening. Kurt Weiss, Town Engineer for the record. Just to give you a brief overview of the potential project, which involves the installation of sanitary sewers in a portion of Gale Drive. All residents have been mailed information. All residents have been mailed an informational packet with a basic layout of the proposed sanitary sewer installation, which is included in the WPCA agenda packet as well. But just to hit on a few highlights of the project, basically Gale Drive extends to this way, basically from Gale Court out to Old Middletown Turnpike. Existing sanitary sewers for the northern portion of Gale Drive. It terminates an existing manhole over here. We investigated the potential of extending sanitary sewers further down on Gale Drive. This is actually probably the third time we've looked at it a few times. There have been petitions by residents in the past to extend sanitary sewers there. We actually looked a little further, just to give you a little background down below, but problems in the interest always sort of seem to center in the area of basically 16 to 20 or 22 Gale Drive, where they had the problems that were noted. What we've looked at and we're proposing is a small diameter, low pressure force main, about 750 feet in length, down Gale Drive, and it's basically stopped short. There's a water crossing over here. And beyond that, we really haven't had word of problems in the past. We sent surveys in the past, and there really wasn't any interest in that area. So we've looked at this. Again, it's a small diameter, low pressure force main. Basically, and then each property owner on their own would be required to purchase a grinder pump and then connect themselves into that force main. The reason we have a force main is because the existing manhole is very shallow. It basically ran out of grade at that point. So we have to pump up to get it. And this is a very flat area. So everything has to be pumped up. Basically the reverse of a water main. So, water coming out, you're pumping everything back into the gravity line, which ultimately goes to the North Haven system. It would serve 6 homes. Basically 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 19 on the other side of Gale Drive. Again, as I said, each property owner would be required to purchase a grinder pump to connect themselves up. The total estimated cost is $84,000 for the overall project. One of the things the reason that we're really looking at this hard is because of the fact that we're planning on reconstructing Gale Drive. It was in the bonded road improvements program, and there's some potential cost savings in terms of the restoration road work in Gale Drive. So it's really the most opportune time to do the project for to do it. The $84,000 results in a net cost of approximately $14,000 per property for the cost of the installation of the low-pressure force main. Again, in addition, each property owner on their own required to purchase that grinder pump and connect into the sanitary sewer system. That cost, preliminary estimate, is about $10,000 to $15,000 for the grinder pump and connection. Generally, a project is built, it's assessed over a 20-year period at the underlying interest rate and the cost of borrowing. This may or may not have to be borrowed money, but there is a cost of, the cost of borrowing, which we use in the handout for preliminary purposes at 4%. That results in the net annual cost going from a maximum of about $1,240 in the first year of assessment, and it declines over subsequent years to a little over about $400. It's basically the 1/20th of the principal per year plus the interest on the unpaid balance. Also a little history, because we've looked at this in the past. There are two properties, I believe they're 16 and 20, that have noted problems. And I think I handed some of the information out probably when we sent the questionnaires out. They have problems with the septic system insulation, and they have problems. It appears to be, it's not very feasible to make repair, and in one case it may or may not, may be, quite costly to do that as well. That's sort of an overview. And we can open up to the public for comments or questions, and I'll answer any questions and you may have comments as well.
Kurt, I have one question. Lot number 25,
Oh, okay, 25, that one is actually connected. That goes into the manhole, right in the manhole before. That was something that was probably connected dozens or so more years ago. The WPCA gave them permission to connect in.
that must be 28 and 57 as well.
Pardon me?
28
They've already connected.
and
That's
57.
correct.
Okay.
Just to throw out another little history, the WPCA actually granted a couple properties permission if they could get easements to run their own line, if everybody, because there wasn't enough interest in the past to connect in there. The issue they ran against is trying to get easements over private property to run that, to run their own little force main. For instance, number 21 to connect in, they need to get an easement over 22 to do it. Along with that is the associated impacts on driveways, maybe trees in the yard. So it's difficult, to get permission to do that. I mean, the ideal thing always is something in the street, town-owned, town-maintained. But again, in the past, there wasn't enough interest to do that, and so that never happened.
Okay. Thank you, Kurt. Are there any questions from the public? Please.
I may probably ask some questions, but that's comments as well.
Can you come up and state your name? And
We need to get this on the recording, so can we retain it?
Holly DiMartino at 20 Gale Drive, okay? And this particular situation has been going on since 2005, when suddenly things were happening at my home. I had to get a private contractor in. I had to dig 6 sites in order to find out if I could put another leaching field there. At that time, the public health person, Kathleen Chubat, had said that my property was contaminated. The soil, everything was done incorrectly. There were no D-boxes where they should be. So God only knows where that was flowing. So, and at that point, when I did come to Mr. Weiss and I did talk to him about that, there really was no specific consideration from any other, people at that time near me. I was told then, and I was told again in 2007 when I appeared here, that I would have to ask my neighbors, if I could cut through their property, which meant cutting down trees and going through lawn and going through driveway, that I was going to have to fork that cost. That was totally impossible for me to do. Even now, with the fact that, the leaching field in the front of my home is okay, but not, perfect, that's for sure. And needs to get pumped regularly. The cost of this is still astronomical for me, especially the cost of the grinder pump. And I don't know how to do any of that, and I would really like somebody to come out to my property and look at my situation and tell me, show me, tell me why. Why am I gonna be paying another $15,000 out of my pocket for a grinder pump? I can't afford that. I also wanted to know about, and correct me if I'm wrong, any use of municipal funds to offset costs for us at this point. Is that something to be talked about here? I don't know. I'm just going on what I'm looking at as a homeowner, a single parent, and I can't sell my house. I'll lose money. Not only is the market bad, but I'll lose a lot of money at this point. Can't put anything else in my yard. Can't afford to dig it up and put in the proper material that should have been done years ago, and that wasn't done. So, this is something that I feel, for my particular home, in essence, has been wronged upon. And then I'm going to be asked to put out $14,000 at 4% interest, and, whether you're borrowing it or not, and then another $15,000 at least, in order to flush my toilets, run my washer. So I do have some questions about what else the town could do to help. This has been an ongoing problem on Gale Drive. This isn't something new. And as far as digging up the roads and things, that's been talked about since 2005. Those roads are disgusting. It's almost like we're like the last part of Northford that's taken care of. We're the part that we don't see it, they're fine, until we start making a little bit of noise. And that's how I'm feeling, and I'm feeling extremely left out, and I'm feeling as if this is going to be an incredible burden on me as far as having to put out extra money for something that is not my problem. I had to get pipe insurance because the sewer lines seem to be going over the water pipes. If something happens to that, there again, that's my issue, the water company told me. So I had to put pipe insurance on. So every year, I've got a little extra there too. So, I feel like I've put in enough as far as my time for this error, and this is a town error. This was a building error. This isn't my error. If I could have put another leaching field in, I would have done that in 2005. But after you dig 6 holes in that ground, which is nothing now but clay, and it takes over a day for the water to sink, I don't think so. Okay? And I am angry at this. I'm frustrated with it. Am I glad that something's going to be done about the roads and bringing sewers in? Sure I am. But at this point, it's an astronomical fee. And I don't know how, and I'm going to have to, but I'd like to see how the town is going to help us flip some of this as well. Those are my questions. Those are my concerns.
How long have you owned the house, ma'am?
26 years?
26 years.
Mm-hmm.
Were you the original owner?
No, there was one owner before me. He was there for 2.5 years.
Okay. That was before your time, I'm sure, Kurt, right?
Oh, it's a septic system issue, right, if he has a problem.
We don't even know what the codes were back then, or who the builder was, or any of
We
that.
have record on
Was.
the
Builder's very well known. And as I said in 2007, somebody got their hand greased on that particular piece of property, and some of the others there on Gale Drive as well. To take off all that topsoil, to take off everything and leave us with nothing but rock, and then you expect a septic system to go through all that and to work that? No, it doesn't happen that way. And then to be told by the health department your ground's contaminated? That's a little harsh, I think. And Mr. Weiss has been patient with me. I've sent him all my stuff. You have it, I'm sure. So, but those are my concerns about my particular area. Thank you for
Thank
listening.
you.
All right, thank you. Are there any other comments?
Mr. Mayor? If I could, just
We have another
Oh, okay,
comment.
I'm sorry. Just one thing in terms of procedure. This is on for a public hearing tonight. There's no action. We're trying to gather information, and that would appear at a subsequent WPCA meeting, just so the public knows. But certainly all the input is what we're after.
Hi, everybody. Ben Klotzko, 16 Gale Drive. It's almost I don't even know where to start. The problem with 16 Gale Drive is the following. We have to limit showers. There's 4 people that live in the house. Me, my wife, son, and his future wife. Can't use the dishwasher, can't use the washing machine because of the high water table of 16 Gale. And I'm sure the rest, but I'm going to speak strictly for 16 Gale. Let me see, 3 or 4 times the downstairs, which is livable, was flooded. Comes up through the shower from the leaching field. What happens is the outtake, what happens when the water goes out and the sewage goes out, it goes out to the leaching field and there's nowhere for it to go. So what happens is it pushes back from the leaching field back into the house itself. Now, I had East Shore Health District come out 4 or 5 years ago, I believe it was. Dennis Johnson came out. They ran a perk test. The perk test was ridiculous. It was supposed to take 3, 4, 5 minutes, took over an hour. There's no drainage. Water sits on top of my front lawn. And let's see how many, just as an example, last year alone, and I have all receipts here from Sanitrol, from Phil's Inc. $1,400 just to have it drained. And every single time the system itself was flooded. And I'm talking 1 month apart, it was flooded out. And again, you can't use it. You can't use anything. You have to time your whole life based around your leaching field. Now, when they built the house back in 1985, we are the original owners. The secondary leaching field was supposed to be, if you face the house, it's supposed to be on the right-hand side. There is no way you're going to put a leaching field there. East Shore even said it. State of Connecticut came down, they even said it. It's not going to happen. They basically condemned the leaching field because of health issues. Okay? And they have no way of solving the problem. Not where they can go in with a backhoe, dig it out, put a new one in. It's not going to happen because you're not taking away the problem. The problem is the high water table and the land it's sitting on. It's that simple. And to be honest with you, I'm sick of it. My wife is sick of it. This kind of thing should not be happening at all. Nobody should be living like this. You wake up one morning and you got sewage in the lower level. It's not like I have 10 people living in my house and everybody's taking 5 showers a day or whatever. No. I mean, it's gotten to the point where it's at the end. It's already, like I said, it's been deemed contaminated, and the sooner we can hopefully get sewers, the better. Because it seems like nobody has any other option for us. I'm not a specialty, obviously, in this field. I've done research, and everywhere I get the same answer, that the leaching fields are gone. The only option basically is, sewers. I mean, I'm willing to pay the price just to get my house back in order. Okay, I'm not claiming a catastrophe, you know, like a Noah's Ark thing, but it is. It's definitely a health issue when sewage comes backwards. And if you look at my lawn in the front, you can see exactly where the puddles are. And those puddles will be out there for weeks.
How long have you had this problem, sir?
Let's see, 8 years. But it's gotten progressively worse. As the leaching field started to deteriorate or break down. And there's no doubt it's broken down. I mean, for Phil, zinc, and Sanitrol to come out, I even have an emergency call here on a weekend. We were away on vacation in Barbados. The whole downstairs got flooded. Never mind the repairs that cost. That's fine. I'll take care of that, you know, as far as the repairs, and I did. But it just, in this day and age, it should not be happening. It's not. And my main concern too, like I said before, I know I'm repetitious, but it's the health issue. There's just no way it cannot be a health issue. And I just hope, you know, I hope for the best. Otherwise, I really don't know what I'm gonna do. I really don't know. Mr. DiMartino said, you know, you can't sell your house, you can't do this, once they hear septic. My septic, the ironic thing is my septic is working. But it's working, it's doing two jobs. It's pushing it out, and then it's taking it back in. So I got no option except for sewers. I don't know, let me see that. Every single report came back. Flooded caused by backflow, leaching fields, 200, everything. It just, a leaching field is supposed to be done once every 2 years. This was done once every month. And Phil that came out from Sanitrol and Ray that came out from Sanitrol, every time they popped it open, they said, I can't believe it. It's filled to the top. And I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else. If he sure has, I'm sure they had their records. Mr. Weiss has been more than helpful on this whole thing. And somehow it has to be addressed. That's basically it for now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Kurt, is there an average life on a septic system?
Well, a newly designed system has a long life. The older systems, they used to
Right.
last 20 years.
20 years.
I mean, that one should have been a lot longer, because that was probably modern to mid-80s. It should have been put into, you know, a much higher standard than something in the 50s and 60s, which the standards were very good. But Jim Glasgow and DiMartino, those are the two that have had, you know, they have the big problem out there. They're number 16 and number 20. It's been over quite a time.
So you say something built in 85 should have
Well,
a lifeline?
I mean, it should have a
30
lot longer.
years.
Oh, at least that. Again, if it's built correctly, but
Right.
for whatever reason, they don't have a good installation.
Thank you.
But to be clear on that, in 1985, East Shore Health District had been in existence, and North Branford was part of that for at least 10 years. And East Shore Health would have been involved with the permitting for these systems and the inspection of these systems. So the same department that's condemning them now are the people
Or approved it.
who approved it and inspected it and signed off on it back then. So, you know, granted the systems are failed, but the health department was here, and it isn't like they were done in the 60s. You know, when, in the 60s, when I was a little kid and they were being put in, it was like, oh, put them in the groundwater and it'll disappear. You know, these systems, they should have been put in correctly in 1985.
They should have been built to standard and inspected and the like. I mean, but obviously,
Did something change on the town drainage? I mean, how did Mr. Klatsko go all the way until 8 years? I mean, he had raised his kids and everything and didn't have a problem until 8 years ago. Do we have an issue with maybe the storm drains or something? Are we dumping high groundwater out there? Did we change something in the road?
It started, I mean, I think the initial look at it was about 1995, when it came to WPCA. You know, we looked at the whole area, and, you know, it was really the same people that had the same problem. It was noted they had problems, I'm saying around 1995, because that's the first I remember of it. And again, over time, you know, there's all those seasonal variations, but it seems like they've had the problem. I think number 20, that came up, that was more recent, that I became aware of.
2004, 2005 was the big blow up.
Do we know how many houses are in?
Okay?
Pardon?
Make a comment?
Correct.
The problems started in 1995, 96, but they were minor. It's like a faucet goes on, and it drips and it drips and it drips. Time goes by. Remember, now the house is only 10 years old. They were built in 1985, my friend was old. As time goes on, now faucet, more water, more water, more water comes up. This is what it's progressed to 5, 6 years ago to a point where it was getting dangerous, and now it's gone. It's gone. What East Shore approved back in '85 is what East Shore, I mean, I don't want to speak for them, but they felt that it was okay. But since then, things, correct me if I'm wrong, that if you put a new leaching field in today, which I can't do, it has to be larger than what they approved in 1985. Am I correct?
The size of the septic system is based on two things: the number of bedrooms in the house and the percolation rate. And actually, today, if you said, you know, the water didn't drop for an hour, that'd be a 60-minute perk, and that is allowable, but you'd have a very large system, you know? So you're right, you would definitely have larger systems up there. Or you would have had, they would have been approved with a pump system on your lot, and you'd have a mound in your backyard, side yard, or whatever, and it would be above it. But that system would cost somewhere around $35,000 to $40,000 to come in there and correct them. And believe me, I've corrected them on a lot worse lots than these. $35,000 to $40,000, you'll get one that doesn't meet any codes, but would probably work. And the state will vary it and say, well, oh well, this is our best shot. So you guys are lucky that you might have the opportunity to put sewers in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're all set?
Yeah, and again, it'll be on an upcoming WPCA agenda for discussion and possible action.
We need a motion to close. We have a motion to close.
the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Moved by Counselor Duty, seconded by Counselor Fucy to close. Roll call?
Mayor Candelora,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose,
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Caprio,
Yes.
Counselor Duty,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Fuji,
Yes.
Counselor Wentworth.
Yes.
Moving on to the regular town council agenda. Presentation, the fiscal year 2012-13 annual budget. Item A is the Board of Education.
Mr. Mayor, we just need one moment to put the projector in place for the PowerPoint presentation. And we've set up some chairs for the council members if they want to leave the dais and sit in the front row.
How are you, bud?
Yeah. Golfing today. Oops.
How would you wear? I'm not near the cord.
Oh, boy.
You speak commercial.
All right, pal. Good. Yeah, good.
I hope not.
No, it's good. You know, I don't want to. No, sir. Gotta love it. Yeah. Fun one. What is this crazy? Yeah. I know, we got a good crowd already. We might have to get like a real room for this meeting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, I tried.
That's the bright spot about sitting on the end. Yeah, well. No comment on that situation. We all know the answer to that.
Are you ready for it? You have everyone? No, there's 2 more copies.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you. Just let me know if you can't hear me, and I'll adjust accordingly. Similar to last year, Don Winnicki here, our business manager, will walk through a PowerPoint presentation, and there's some historical data here that I'll share. And moving forward, looking forward at 12/13. Obviously, on April 3rd, we'll have a more in-depth conversation. The administrative team will be here. Any questions that you have from this evening, if you don't have a chance to ask them or you think of them, please forward them to us. We will have the administrative team there and we'll answer them on that evening of April 3rd. So we'll get started tonight. We'll walk through some of the changes from this year moving forward to next year and answer any questions accordingly. Don?
Okay, much of this information many of you have already seen. This year, the zero growth budget would have resulted in a 4.8% increase, and that includes using half of the jobs bill money in September of 2012. That was decreased to 4.58% by eliminating 1 certified staff position, and the Board of Education further reduced the request to 4.26. And there's actually a bit of an addendum since that has happened. We've had 2 additional certified retirements, which if they were replaced with a Master's 1, would actually result in a reduction of another 0.25% from the request. I wanted to just touch on the jobs bill funding. The current year's budget had incorporated $474,000 of jobs bill funding. We're carrying half of that over into the next fiscal year, and we're able to do that because of 3 things primarily. One is we did receive a Title I grant in the amount of $95,000. The most significant one was when we did a revised, actually when the town did a revised valuation of the OPEB obligations for the Board of Education. We had far more than we needed in the budget for that. And that also carries over into the 12-13 fiscal year. The reduction was also accounted for in there. And then as the energy costs, obviously we've had a relatively mild winter, and so they are lower than had originally been anticipated. The major cost factors, the teacher's contract, a little over 1%. We still need 0.8% to replace half of the jobs bill funding, although it would have been twice that without the carryover. An increase of 1.81% for outside placements, mostly special education, for special education paraprofessionals that exceed the 2 federal IDEA grants, which together total over about $450,000. These positions are above and beyond that. And then an increase of about 6% for transportation, which includes an assumed contractual increase, and diesel at $3.60 a gallon, and an increase of 0.2% for fuel oil, which reflects an estimated cost of $3.40 a gallon. So this is the summary. As I said, that could actually come down by another 0.25%, factoring in the 2 additional retirements. Here's the budget history. The budget over the last few years has been a little bit difficult in the fact that there were more than one funding source. It was not only our typical sources, which are from the town and from ECS, but we also had federal grants that flowed directly to the Board of Education. So you can see on the second to the last column the increase in the town contribution, and in the last column is the actual total funding change. Staff changes, with one exception, and that exception being one elementary teacher. All of the retirees are replaced. However, they're replaced in general with someone at Master's Step 1. The exception to that was the reading consultant, because typically you're not going to find a reading consultant at Master's Step 1 because of all of the education that's required in order to obtain that certification. This also includes reassigning 2 elementary teachers and 2 paraprofessionals to create full-day kindergarten, and again is approximately 7.5 special ed paraprofessionals that are no longer covered by the IDEA grant. Hit on these things earlier. Again, the cost of diesel on the bus contract. Outside placements are assumed to increase 3%, and the number of students attending has been revised upward, and that actually combines to create a 40% increase in the outside tuition line. Fuel oil at $33.40 with usage held constant. Natural gas cost and usage constant, and that we will continue to get the Universal Service Fund discounts. This is the enrollment projections. The 108 is in red for kindergarten. That is a combination of 97 current registrations and 11 pending, which are packets that are outstanding and assumed that they're going to come back. That number we had originally in there at 120. So this is somewhat lower. It gives class sizes of 18 instead of 20, and also has an impact on the total enrollment. But you can see it takes the 4 kindergarten teachers who currently have 8 sessions, and the first and second grade of 8 and 8, and makes that 6 full-day kindergarten teachers, 7 first and 7 second. Again, programs not included are elementary world language, any additional high school staff for electives, an additional reading consultant for K-5, and a security resource officer at the high school. This is exactly the same slide as you've seen in the past. It's the per pupil funding. And North Branford is 138 in the state, and this compares it to a two-tier average and also to the state average. And then the capital projects. At the board meeting where this was approved, there was a great deal of discussion about the truck. I had some subsequent conversations with Branford, and he believes that number actually will come down to somewhere in the 40,000s, say 45.
Okay.
And that's it.
Any questions? I know in the past, the full-day kindergarten was listed as not on this year's proposal. The total value in the past was approximately $333,000. With the decreased enrollment and reducing from 8 sections to 6 sections and moving a first and second grade teacher into those slots, we would be able to house and have class sizes of approximately 18 with the 97 plus 11 students running 6 sections of the full-day kindergarten. We can talk about that in more detail on April 3rd.
Can you tell me what the reduction was from what figure was the reduction to $59,000 for the retiree health benefits? Where was it originally? How much were they spending?
The OPEB was, I believe, 177 originally.
Last year?
That was what was in the budget for this year.
Oh, and it reduced to $59,000?
Came all the way down to $59,000.
And I have another question, too, if I can find where I wrote it. It's about the grants. It's my understanding the federal grants that you get from the federal government, you have to report on what you spend it on. Is that not correct?
Well, the specific reporting was only attached to the ARA grant. We do report there's an ED 141 that's done at the end of the year in conjunction with the other year-end financial report.
And we report quarterly on the ARA fund?
The ARA fund, which we no longer have.
I thought all funding that comes from the federal government had to be quarterly reported. Is that, am I wrong? Is someone telling me the wrong information?
Well, we file every month, we file a request for funds through the state reporting system, which is the ED 114. But, in terms of, we give them a grant application, which includes a budget, and then at the end of the year, we give them the expenses by category, but that's the only reporting we're required to do. Now, the auditors will come in and they will do far more. They'll look at payroll and those kinds of things, particularly on a grant. Typically, the one they look at most closely is the large IDEA grant, which is about $430,000. And in our case, that is virtually all paraprofessional payroll. And so they will audit that as well.
Is the IDEA grant for handicap? Oh, it's all special ed?
That was you saw the lion's share of 1.8% of special ed plus, and projecting, or we've had a number of students come into the district that have been exorbitant costs to the district. We had a student that transferred in from the Norwich School District, and we were going to carry 3 months at a outplacement service at $15,000 through the year. If that student stays with us next year, it will be approximately $60,000 for that outplacement next year. And we've had a number of those this year.
On the Title I funding, has there been any year that you have not received Title I funding in the past 5 years?
Probably have gotten it in the past 5 years. As you may recall, that there was a time where we didn't know we were going to lose the funding, and we suddenly did. And we had to scramble around that year to try to preserve our remedial programming. And then a couple of years later, again, without any warning, it suddenly came back. The unfortunate thing about the Title I fund, or Title I grant, is you're only allowed to carry 15% forward. So if you get the grant and you don't know you were going to get it, you still have to spend 85% of it in that fiscal year. With some of the other grants, you actually can carry the grant forward. So if you got it this year and didn't know you were going to have it, and the money was already incorporated into the budget, you can simply move it into the following year. You can do that with IDEA, but you can't do it with Title I.
Title II, you can't move.
Title II, you can also forward.
And it's typically, you have gotten between 75 and 95,000 on Title I funding? And when do you find out typically if
Well,
you're
that's
going to
the
get it?
problem. A couple of years ago, we actually found out, as a matter of fact, when we did the budget presentation and the public hearing, I'm going to say 3 years ago, but sometimes things run together. We did introduce at that point in time the fact that we had been given the Title I funding. Last year, or for this year, we didn't find out until September, October.
What do you guys consider a reasonable class size?
It's dependent upon the level. You know, 18 to 21 is out. You know, that there's many places. Look at our specific school profile. We were above the state average. And by 3 students per average per class in 2 of those grades. So we were running on average in classes 24 to 25 students. So it varies. I certainly wouldn't want my kindergarten classes going above.
Okay. 20, 21 is fine, is what you're saying?
18 to 21 is 30. I have a kindergarten teacher here, but I'm sure you'll agree with that.
I'm just want to ask so I know where I'm coming from when I have to do what I have to do.
Okay, during your budget presentations, when you talked about kindergarten enrollment, and then you typically get between 20 and 30 between when you have registration and when school starts. And during the presentations, you had class sizes in kindergarten, 6 sessions at 24.
We were at 92 registered, and then we went to 97, and now we have 11 pending with 6 sections. So before, I think we were at 120 capped, if you got to that with 20 per section. I know we never said 24. It was 120 if we got to that. 92.
I think what Rose is referring to is if we had had 144, which we just carried as a number, that would have been sections of 24 per section.
Okay.
But then we revised that to 120 when we were doing the board level because we had indications that we weren't going to get that high.
Okay.
We've got numbers in here for all-day kindergarten, and you're projecting no additional cost because what you're doing is eliminating other grades, a first and a second grade, moving the teacher down to the kindergarten level and doing something similar with a paraprofessional, I think, at each grade level. And the obvious question that begs is, were you not to do that, and were you still in a position to eliminate that first and second grade, there would be a cost savings as opposed to saying there's no additional cost. So from a purely mathematical point of view, I'll concede your argument that there's no cost, but the flip side is there's no savings that might otherwise be available. What is the importance of the all-day kindergarten as opposed to the half-day kindergarten that you've had from time immemorial?
The Common Core initiative, which will be in 2014. Currently, there are 111 districts in Connecticut that have full-day kindergarten, and they are ramping up now for the rigor of the change that will affect us in 2 years. And the level of content and the things that kindergarten students will be exposed to and expected to know and be able to do far exceeds what we will be able to do in a partial day program. We are crammed for time now. Our kindergarten teachers, from the time that they greet the students in the morning to the time they leave, are going 110 miles per hour. We do not We do not have recess for our kindergartners. We do not have toys in the classroom. There is no downtime. There is no social time. And the standard and the rigor is only going to increase in the expectations that we're going to be held to on a national level. And we will be hard pressed. And I said this a couple of years ago. I never thought that full-day kindergarten would be mandated by the state. I'm changing my tune. And a number of towns surrounding us have adopted and gone to full day because of that Common Core and that expectation and what we'll be held accountable to doing.
You seem to
prepping for first grade and getting ready.
You seem to be first alluding to mandates of the federal government, and then you're saying the state government. Is it one or both, or?
Well, it's how you want to interpret that. If the state would eventually get to that, I don't have a lot of confidence in anything that's going on right now. Just looking at past history with other things that they mandated, but then had changed and didn't follow through on. But I think it's in the pipeline. Early literacy, if you look at our new commissioner and the governor and all of the energy and where they're placing on early literacy and preparation in the pre-KK area and getting kids ready, it's just a matter of time. And to be ahead of it, I think would be obviously beneficial to our young students in preparing for that. Common Core is not going away. We're going to see dramatic changes and transformation in education in the next 2 years.
Thank you.
How many retirements did you have after your budget last year was published? Because I remember at the budget hearings last year, there was a number thrown out as to how many were over 37 years in anticipated retirements.
I don't want to guess. I mean, I know there were a couple. I know there was a math teacher at the high school, and I know there was another teacher at the high school. I don't recall any others offhand, but there might have been. I can certainly check and have that on the 3rd.
Okay.
And you also mentioned that the enrollment is up from last year?
No, it's a slight decline.
A slight decline, okay.
That's listed on page, I want to say the 3rd page of the 4th page.
It's towards the back of the, here.
This one.
The only really big classes you have are 7th and 8th grade.
2177 to 2117.
Actually got 2105.
Scott, where are the 2 additional classrooms for kindergarten in Jerome Harrison?
Where are they?
Yeah.
If we remove the 1st and 2nd grade, we would
Oh,
realize.
I'm sorry. Okay, yeah.
We also have the FRC building, so we have the ability to be creative with our Project 5 program with the 3 4-year-olds. The 2 classroom spaces, we have 1,800 square feet in the FRC building, and then obviously with -1 per 2nd grade, so there's really 3 options. Space. That would be up to the building administrator to work with this team to decide.
There was some news items about municipalities participating in a statewide health program for employees. Is that something that's available to North Branford? Is that something you've explored or heard anything about?
You want to answer that?
We'll talk about that a little bit in my budget presentation. We're gathering information. We've had a conversation, Don, Scott, Anthony, and I had a conversation recently about it, and it's an emerging opportunity, but it is a self-insurance program. So it does require a leap of faith, and we want to make sure that if we're taking advantage of it, we have all the information.
I actually spoke to someone on Friday, last Friday, at a workshop, whose district already had gotten their quote back from the comptroller's office, and it was 3% higher than what they're currently paying. So, the problem with some of these programs is, depending on where your cost structure is now, you can end up all over the map in terms of, you know, what your final savings are.
What are you projecting for cost increase for next year?
We're actually not. We're projecting a decrease of 0.84% because our worst case with Anthem for next year is 0.16, and we're also, with all of our groups basically increasing 1% premium share, we're actually talking about a net decrease in healthcare costs for the first time I can ever remember.
What's the total percentage of premium share on the healthcare?
It ranges anywhere from 13 or 14 up to 17 or 18, depending on which group it is.
Age-wise?
No, individual contracts, bargaining unit.
Any further questions? Thank you very much for your presentation.
If there are other further questions that you have, please feel free to either contact my office or go to Anthony or Marcy, and we'll get answers for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now I want to find out.
I'd like to thank the Board of Education for the presentation this evening. Thank you. Towns, Richard, do you need a moment to set up?
I think I'm good. Do you want, Mr. Mayor, would you like to come over in this chair?
You don't usually get too close to me, Brandon.
Good evening, members of the Town Council, members of the audience here and at home. It's my duty to present to you the fiscal year 2012-13 proposed budget. And like in the past years, it does come with its set of challenges. We all know what state and national trends we're experiencing in unemployment here in town. At the same time, the demands, it seems, to us and to our town staff have not ceased. In fact, they've increased in certain areas, especially in the area of social services, counseling, and I'm sure this is not unanticipated. We have, in last year's budget, we did bump up our social services staff time. Louisa Breen is working full-time now for the first time ever, and she is going full tilt with a number of different issues that our residents have. At the same time, we're looking at state revenue streams. We're getting reports from our usual sources, Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, cost, and the state itself, about what's going to happen in this year's version of the budget. And you'll see later in the presentation that there has been some discussion about increasing ECS formulas, which have been flatlined for the last 3 years plus. We're not budgeting that increase. We think it's too early in the process, and what they're projecting for an increase from North Branford is about $130,000+. We just think that's too tentative at this point in time, so you will not see that in the budget at this point. Again, this is a challenge that you as a town council and the community faces, and that's balancing our expenditures and revenues and the demands for services that are just frankly not going away. And if you talk to our police department, fire department, public works, library, you know, parks and recreation, all of those agencies are seeing increases in demand for service, and we're trying to keep pace with the resources that we have available. Our budgetary constraints that we have in the current fiscal year include limits that were established on travel and training, non-emergency overtime, part-time pay rates being frozen, discretionary spending eliminated, full-time positions. There's a hiring freeze and requires the express approval of the town council for all positions, and that's resulted in some savings which we hope to be able to continue to use for future years. Getting into the specifics of the budget, I would classify this budget as a realistic one. It is one that tries to make the best use of our resources. It makes sense. There are no arbitrary cuts in the budget from departmental requests. They were reduced over $100,000 by my office. But it does result in a 3.21% increase as presented. And as we get into the details on April 3rd, you'll see where all of the individual accounts are affected. We do have no new staff. We have one restoration of a staff person in the Public Works Department that was cut last year. There are no new services contemplated. We're looking at utility and costs going down a little bit on electricity, and those are reflected in the budget. Fuel costs, we've just locked in, as the council I believe is aware, at around $3.40 for diesel, number 2 heating, and gasoline with taxes a little bit more than that, but we've locked in the rates for the upcoming fiscal year so we can at least budget those intelligently. Our health increases we're projecting are going to be less than 1%, and we're still in negotiations with the union, so I really can't comment on where they're going to end up. 2% increases for wages are included in the budget. 1% of that is included in the departmental level individual salary lines, and the other 1%, as we've done in the past, is set aside in contingent. I believe the amount is in total about $126,000. One of the things that we don't know what's going to happen on is minimum wage, and that may impact our library, it may impact our Parks and Recreation part-time staff, Public Works part-time staff, and so on, because there would be a ripple effect in that. We continue to budget in the same way we've been doing for the last several years, and that is to put any and all controls on as possible and just to eliminate discretionary spending. If people can do without it and it's not an emergency, that's what we've been doing in this budget that we're existing with today and in next year's budget that's proposed. Some of the budgetary growth items that we are dealing with, and as I said, this is a realistic budget, and as we go through these on an individual departmental basis, your administrators will be here to answer those questions, but these are pretty much the highlights of what the increases are. I mentioned just a second ago that we have set aside some money for full-time salaries. We've also set aside some money because we're out to bid, or will be out to bid shortly, on our cleaning services, and we think that's going to go up. Low bid is resulting in very low performance and marginal at best, so we need to take a little bit better care. We're looking at some maintenance issues in the fire department. Police department is increasing primarily because of gasoline, but there's some tuition issues as our officers are looking to better themselves. The town attorney's budget is being increased to reflect the historic averages for litigation. This year we've seen some increases in litigation, primarily due to tax appeals. Central services, we're trying to consolidate some of our outlying buildings so that the council has a better idea of what it takes to maintain facilities such as the Auger House or the Reynolds Beers House and so forth. So we have one of the big numbers on the bottom. You'll see that we've included a budget number for probably the first time, which is establishing budget funds for pending police retirement, so sick and personal vacation leave payouts are budgeted for the first time, and normally those have come out of existing funds within the budget that are scraped from every which way. We're still engaged in a process that I have to say, as the town manager, I'm very pleased and proud of all the department heads, because I believe that on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute basis, they're always looking for something to do better, or to find a more effective way of doing something, or piggybacking with someone else. So I'm very happy about that. As I said, we're in contract negotiations and working on the priorities that have been established by the town council for those. And I would like to thank all the department heads and the superintendent of schools and the Board of Education for their cooperation in the process. I'd especially like to call out Anthony Esposito, who's been a right hand in this process as always. So this is the breakdown of how the general government budget totals. You can see the majority, like everything else, is in salary and in related benefits and insurance. Included in benefits insurance are also workers' comp and general liability. So it's not just salary and benefits that are reflected there. But you'll hear more about capital projects as we go forward. The non-discretionary expenses that we're facing, as I said earlier, we're locked in on fuel costs, pension contributions. Although our pension program is not technically fully funded, they are about 70% funded plus or minus on police and our public employee pensions. The funding required for those expenses is 100% committed, and those are based on the actuarial recommendations. We're seeing a slight decrease in our workers' comp exposure, and therefore our premiums seem to be trending downward. Our liability insurance is seeing a slight increase, but we're trying to get some better accurate numbers on budgeting. Again, our OPEB contribution, Don Winnicki was mentioning that his went down significantly, and we're happy for them, but ours continues to be at or about, I think there was a reduction of about $5,000 over the previous year. And again, this is other post-employee benefits, and I should tell you that, and I'm sure Don and Anthony would concur, that this town is and remains ahead of the curve in addressing this issue. You heard the auditor make a positive comment about it, and it's a responsibility and an obligation that we don't have discretion on. It is a recommendation that comes through the actuaries, and that's what we'll continue to fund, and it does show up in the budget. And again, the employee leave liability is included as well. Those are our obligations. Equipment maintenance, we do have an obligation to improve on our emergency management and training, and you'll see that reflected in our budgeting. As I said earlier, the human service needs are increasing. We need to make an infrastructure commitment. We have some projects that you'll see in the capital budget that are reflective of that, and our debt service, I'll go into a little bit more detail shortly. But we do have some opportunities within this budget. We're in the process, and I have the draft request for proposal on my desk now for the solid waste collection and disposal bid that will be going out shortly. We are looking at the state plan, although the news does not appear to be great, but we have an obligation to look at it. We are continuing to look at the regionalization of services to save money and to improve operations. We do have some opportunities that may be explored on the community center and the former senior center site, soon to be hopefully former senior center site. We're always pursuing grants. In fact, congratulations to the fire department for getting the Fire Act grant recently for the rescue air breathing apparatus. And we're looking at technology, both in the finance department. We're still operating on a DOS system, and we need to really start to move to a window-based operation, and technology in the building office would probably help us process permits from the field a lot better. Swinging into the capital projects, you're familiar with the continuance of the road program, the $2 million that was the result of the refinancing. We have some major commitments that we'd like you to contemplate, and I do have to apologize because I don't believe that we carried over the Board of Education other than the NVHS roof project. That was an error of omission, not of commission on our part. So their presentation of the capital projects will be updated, and that's for your consideration. But under our presentation, the police department building, you'll see a number in there for architectural design for an addition. The STW renovation would be phase 2 and funded hopefully through a second round of grant funding. The high school roof, in addition to what's just been done on an emergency basis, would be a bonded project. The Public Works building, actually a second half of the building to cover our equipment that's out in the rain, would also be a potentially bonded project, excuse me. Capital equipment, narrow banding for police, the estimate is about $300,000 and was recently discussed at the Emergency Communications Committee. We also have a narrow banding issue in Public Works that needs to be addressed. We have Public Works equipment, Board of Ed equipment, and a fire rescue vehicle that is in dire need of replacements. And what we're looking at there, and I'll talk about it briefly when we get into it, is a vehicle leasing program. And I already touched on the technology improvements that we're looking for. Getting into debt service, we pretty much all know what's been the commitment to date to get to this point in time, and we're reaching debt service levels of just over $500,000. What we're seeing this year is for the first time in several years that debt service will actually decrease by a little better than $17,000. And that's a result of the bond refinancing of both October 2010 and 2011. And what we're looking to, as the council knows, and for the public's benefit, the inclusion of that refinancing allowed the $2 million of road program that's currently ongoing. And in the long run, I think the savings were somewhere over $4.2 million over the remaining life of the bonds. So we're happy to report that, and you can see where debt service has come from in fiscal year 2005 all the way up to projected current. The next coming couple of years, you'll see a bump next year of a little less than $250,000 or so, and then it's going to level up at about that rate at about $5.5 million for the next 3, possibly 4 years, and then it'll start dropping down. So what you see as a max is a reflection of what we've committed to get to this point in time and the projects that were on the previous slide. The total expenditure budget is presented for you. You can see where the increases are. The total bottom line is a 3.85% increase, and as I said earlier in my presentation, the reductions that were made at my level on the expenditure side did not go to the core. I did not eliminate programs or services. If the council wants to entertain that, we will have discussions about what the impact will be, but those are discussions that need to take place in this chamber and not in my office, and this budget is a reflection of that. This is how it breaks out in typical fashion. That you see education is a little better than 62%, town operations 26%, debt service almost 11% of our budget, and we're setting aside a small sliver of our current tax budget for capital projects. We have to pay for it somehow, and as we're looking to our major source of revenue is our grand list. The property tax is the main source, which along with pilot accounts for about 78% of our total revenues. As we're all familiar with, the impact of reval is still being felt. The tax burden actually shifted from the residential to the commercial base. I elaborated on that last year. I think that's still the reality this year. The net increase in the grand list after all of the exemptions and so forth is about 0.044%. And when that, I'm sorry, it should be 0.44%. I apologize for the missed dot there. When you account for pilot, which is seeing a brief decrease, a small decrease, it's a total increase in revenue of just under $175,000, and it does call for us to do a little bit more on the economic development side, and things are seeming to happen there. This is a breakdown of our grand list. You can see where the growth is on the real estate. It's not much. Motor vehicle has popped up about 5%. Personal property is down slightly. Total is up 0.55%. And then when you back out the pilot is how you get to the net number. And the pilot payment, if you look at that number on the other side, the 79 million, that was a 114% increase last year. So for it to drop down 0.7% is not significant in the overall picture. And that is something we're still working on. State aid, as I said earlier, they're looking at retooling ECS. It's 19% of our total revenues that come in. So any changes in state aid will be significant for the town. A 10% cut in ECS is $810,000. It's $8.1 million in just that one funding category alone. So maintenance of that status quo for the last few years has been significant for us and for this size community. We're very fortunate in the amount of ECS funds that we receive, and we're working to make sure that that does not get toyed with too much. And what happens over time is those successive state budgets that don't increase significantly in state aid, if there is an expansion or cost of living increases at the local level, that's where the taxes shift to, from the state level to the local level. And that's what we've been facing for the last several years. Interest income is almost negligible. It's running about 1%. Pilot revenues have been partially allocated in this budget to the capital plan as a way from operating as revenue. The real estate conveyance tax was firmly established at the end of last legislative session in June, so that's a number that we can count on. But that and building fees are reflections of land use activity. We're starting to see a little bit, I don't want to jinx it, we're starting to see a little bit of interest and activity coming into the building and planning departments, and I'm really happy to see that, and I know our staff is as well. There's always discussion at this time of year about using the undesignated fund balance. I go back and forth in this building alone, hitting Anthony with the question every week, trying to get another percent out of here or there. But we have a policy here in town which has been commented on by both the town auditor and the bond rating agencies, and has resulted in some of our bond rates that we've gotten over the last several years, and the savings that have accrued thereby. And right as of the end of last fiscal year, our unappropriated fund balance, undesignated fund balance, was about 11.35%. If you go down to the bottom, our fund balance is being used. We have a revenue line of $350,000, which is not unsubstantial, and we have the OPEB contribution coming out of that as well. So we're using $659,000 of it and not recommending at this point in time using any more of the fund balance. This is how our revenue summary breaks out. As I said, 78% is local property taxes. Property tax rate is what the bottom line that everyone really wants to get to, and what we're looking at with this budget as presented in total, including debt service, education, and the town government side. A mill rate would be 29.55 mils, so 1.78 increase, or 6.41% in the mill rate. And again, the reasons for it are fairly clear. We have marginal growth in the grand list. We're not getting any more money from the state. Our local revenue sources in fees and such are just not there, and it's not really something we would want to increase if we had that. We have a lot of non-discretionary fuel costs that are just out of our control. So we're looking at a distribution that breaks out for town government and for the education and for capital improvements of that mill rate increase. You've seen these numbers before, and debt service is changed. I'm not sure if that number is reflective or not. The budget impact, this is something we normally project, and it's a good indicator for property owners to see where we're going. And if you look at the average colonial home under this proposed budget, would see about a $311 increase, and a little bit more than double that for a contemporary home that was valued at $350,000. Again, that's assessed value, so that for both those colonial and contemporaries. And this is the bottom line. This is the value of 1 mil. It's 1.24. It's up a little bit from last year. There are elderly tax exemptions that come off the grand list, and the collection rate is something, again, that Anthony and I have had discussions at, and the finance committee and the town council realizes that we are seeing some collections above that, but historically this is not something that we would want to vary from, and that's a conservative collection rate, but something that's certainly achievable, and it's not something that we would ever want to go out on a limb on. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the budget. I would be happy to answer any questions you have for me this evening. I can tell you that on April 3rd, all department heads will be in attendance, and we'll be looking at workshops coming up this weekend for police, fire, and public works, which will start the process and then we'll move into the public hearing.
What's our surplus in the snow budget from last year?
Surplus of the snow budget from last year,
Yeah. We had to save money there, no?
I can't answer you right now, I'll get you that number. It's substantial, but then again, this year, we're paying the retirements out of operating funds. So we're trying to reallocate money within the departmental budgets to pay for unbudgeted retirements.
Yeah, I thought you
Other leave expenses.
We also have the expenses too for the storm.
Shut this damn thing off.
Yeah, I know. I got
We
hit.
got federal money though for those storms, don't we?
The thing on wheels.
Some.
Yeah.
For the first one more than the second one. Do you have any other questions? Ed?
Yeah, you wanna move that thing? It's blinding me.
Sure. I'm gonna turn it up.
Thank you, Richard.
Okay. Wow.
Thank you.
So you did go back, you So we're gonna go. Just change arm.
All right. Armin was a Republican?
What?
Oh,
Arm.
No, they're always over there. I guess it's all of them. I don't know.
we're just gonna go with Pat Young, right? How's that? Oh.
Item 3, minutes of previous meeting. Item A, March 6, 2012.
So moved.
Second.
Joe second.
Moved by Councilor Wentz, seconded by Councilor
I
Fawnin.
have one correction, Anthony. On page 3, on item F, the Emergency Communications Subcommittee, I believe it's Director of CMed, not CMet.
Correct.
Right?
Have you got that correction? Okay, roll call?
Mayor Candelora,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose,
Abstain.
Counselor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Cabria,
Yes.
Counselor Judy,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Fucci,
Abstain.
Counselor Wentworth.
Yes.
Item 4, reports of committees, boards, and commissions. A, Permanent Project Building Committee.
There was no meeting.
B, Hazardous Waste Recycling Committee.
Their next meeting is on April 12th.
Item C, Potato and Corn Festival Committee.
Mr. Mayor, I attended the, and council members, I attended the Potato and Corn Festival meeting. I don't believe there's anything new to report. A lot of the sponsorship letters have gone out. There has been an emphasis on business expo and providing some additional support in forms of electricity and so forth as part of this year's project. But it seems to be moving forward, and I don't hear a lot of complications being made. We're setting up to have our department heads get together to talk about facilitating the event from the town side, but pretty much it's status quo as we've been doing the last couple of years.
Thank you. Item D, Emergency Communications Subcommittee.
We haven't met since our last report.
Right. Item E, Finance Subcommittee.
Yeah, Rose took notes of it, so she can report on it.
The Finance Committee met last week. The two significant thing, one Richard touched on before, which was the Fire Act grant award for $47,500, and it's a matching grant, 5% match from the town, which is $2,500, and this is for a breathing air compressor, and that match of $2,500 is going to be funded through the fire department. And the other item that we discussed was line item transfers due to the police department retirements. Unfortunately, these cannot be done at this point in time until after our budget. We would have either had to do them prior to January 31st, or now we have to wait until after the budget process to take care of all of the line item transfers due to the retirements in the police department and all of the corresponding budget items, the line items that go with it. And everything else will be discussed later on in the next budget. That was it.
Thank you. Town Manager's Report.
Just a few updates from the written report that I gave you as part of the agenda package. NBIS, the certificate of occupancy has been issued, and there are some minor, there are some issues that we're still resolving with the design team, HVAC issues that mechanical contractor consultant has been involved with the Board of Ed staff to try and get some of those control issues resolved. We still have some issues with the front doors that are yet to be resolved between the architect and the installer, and the recommendations that have been made to the Permanent Project Building Committee on that end. The Building Committee has also will be scheduling a meeting with the attorney, probably for their next meeting. As I said, it was on April 12th. I apologize, April 9th, and they need to get an update on the project attorney to see where we are with the claim against the architect. We are also pursuing state reimbursement for the NBIS project, and that will require some additional paperwork to be submitted to the school facilities unit. I have that information in my possession, and we'll be processing it through the superintendent's office ASAP. Turning to the Stanley T. Williams project, you have an item on the agenda tonight to be acted upon if that's the council's desire. In terms of state construction projects, town engineer has been working on the request for proposal for engineering services, and that's going out to public advertisement shortly if it's not in the paper already. And the Connecticut DOT project, Route 80 and 139, the project is out to bid, and I believe the bid opening is tomorrow. So we should find out who the contractors or contractor will be, and that will be moving forward, and the next briefing will be on a pre-construction meeting when that happens. We're working on, and you have on your agenda, the agreements for the leases for Reeds Gap Road and for the Commerce Drive cell tower leases that help facilitate the simulcast system upgrades. We are in the process of, as I said earlier in my presentation, working on completing the request for proposal for the solid waste collection contract and disposal options. And right now it's looking at this is the document. It's about 40 to 50 pages of what we're looking for, and we're looking to hone it down. We had documents from all over the state submitted, and we're trying to make sure that we have this in the best interest. When I have a final draft of it, I will send it out to the council for comment. The Parks and Recreation Commission met last evening. They had a public hearing on their field use guidelines. The public hearing was completed, and the guidelines were adopted as presented. So those will be published, and the town council will get copies of all of those. And in terms of police, the The police sergeant candidates list has been submitted to the police commission for review and potential appointment. I believe they have 2 openings for sergeants in the police department. And that is the end of my report.
Okay.
Thank you. Community events and presentations. Citizen statements, petitions, and correspondence.
Roger Monk from Walnut Lane. I've heard appeals from the education department tonight for more money. I saw a budget from the town that reflects more money. I just want to make the voice for the senior citizens on fixed incomes. We're not getting any more money. And I've said it 1,000 times that if you keep taking out of the jar without putting anything in, eventually there's going to be no more left. So we're still looking for that tax freeze. Somehow we gotta do that.
Thank you, Roger.
Hi, good evening. My name is Eric Hodgson. I'm here to ask for your support for the North Branford Dog Park. I know I talked about this with you at the last meeting, and we have the proposal in front of you. Last October, we met with the Parks and Rec Commission to ask about what concerns they would have if we want to make a dog park in town, and we listened very closely to their concerns of liability, cost, and maintenance. And we came back with a proposal in January that really addressed all those costs, and they felt very comfortable with what we came up with and passed that proposal unanimously. And so here we are tonight in front of the town council, hoping that you'll give us a yes vote so that we can begin our fundraising, because right now everything's are kind of on hold until we have a fundraising plan. The few points I want to make that I hadn't made before is that, one, I think it's very important that this become a town park. One, because of the concern for maintenance, that if it is a town park, then the town will have the ability to close the park if things aren't going well. I anticipate that the majority of the maintenance will be done actually by the users of the park. Right now, given the proposed place for the dog park, we have the ability to actually create the place, actually layout to minimize the maintenance, so that really the day-to-day maintenance would be the only main concern. In terms of the cost, we do intend to fundraise the approximately $20,000 to $25,000 initial startup cost. The maintenance, we have formed a support organization called North Branford Unleashed that has fully planned to help to continue to fundraise to offset the cost of the day-to-day maintenance of the park. And I know there are other people here that want to tell you their support and story about why we think that this would be a good thing for our town and why we think that you should vote yes for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Joe DiFrancesco, 43 Auger Road. We live in a town, not a city, and I don't think it's feasible to have a dog park in our town. I'm completely against it. We have the Auger property, which hundreds of dogs walk in that property all the time, and the town allows that. So I can't see the town to put in, I know you say there's no expense, but there's going to be a liability, there's going to be town crews working in this park, there's an expense no matter what you do. It's a town, on the town land. So I'm just voicing my opinion from just people I've been talking to in general. The land is usable. Any park you could use, you just got to take care of your dogs and pick up the waste, whatever's there and things like that. It's just that you can use any park you want. The Auger property is like 50 acres of land, and our farm connects it, and there's hundreds of people that use that land to walk their dogs and do whatever they want, as long as you take care of your dogs in a neat proportion, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know why the town would want, in a town where most people have an acre or a half acre of land, would need a dog park. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Frank Brigano. I live at 708 Totoket Road, and I'm here to support the dog park. It is something that we desperately need in this town. This is 2012. This is not medieval times anymore. You cannot walk on our streets. that we live on country roads. There are no sidewalks in this town. We need a place that we can bring our dogs and let them roam free without worry of other predators or other animals, allow them to socialize with other dogs, give us the opportunity to socialize with our neighbors in the town. We come from a village in Illinois that had a dog park over 10 years. I was on the Park and Rec Board. I was on our village council. There are no liability issues. I've never seen them. That's really a good thing to have. They're very well used. It's time we move forward to the 21st century, get away from DOS-based systems, and take and have a dog park in this town. I urge you to support it.
Hi, my name is Sue Diaz. I live at 31 White Hollow. I've lived in town for a little over 20 years, and I've only been a dog owner for the past 2. So on my way here, I tried to figure out a reason why someone who didn't have a dog would be interested in a dog park in town. And in thinking about that, I think I came up with a really good one from my own past experience. I have a son who's 14 years old, who's played sports in town since he's been old enough to play sports in town. My husband was a coach. We would always arrive at the fields early. We've played on every field in town, and every field in town I would never show up to without a shovel and a plastic bag in my car. People take their dogs to the town parks where sports are being played, and they're not responsible. I'm hoping that with the dog park, at least it's in a contained area where most of the people will be responsible, and most of the people will feel responsible because they're in an area where they know that other people are there and other people are watching. Every time I go by Northford Park, there are people with the dogs out on the baseball fields, there are dogs on the soccer fields, and there are dog excrements on the soccer fields and the baseball fields. And it's really, I have always felt it's unsanitary for these poor kids to have to play in dog crap. And it's everywhere. And I can vouch for that because I've cleaned it up for the last 10 years. So my vote is wholeheartedly for a dog park. I am a dog owner, but as a non-dog owner for the last 14 years, I would also agree that it's a good idea and that it would be a health issue or a safety issue for the kids who play on those fields. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carol Small. I own Poochie Play 200 Shaw Road, and I'd just like to address the liability issue a little bit. If you walk down the street, the town might be liable, but there's definitely a Connecticut statute that covers the town. Dog owners are responsible for the dog, or the person that is caring for the dog is the one that is ultimately responsible for whatever the dog does, whatever actions that dog does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Regardless of whether we have a dog park or not, we still have to maintain that area, correct? In other words, the field that they're going to put it on?
The area that's being considered, that we showed you on the site plan for the Swychik project, is undeveloped at this point in time. It's more of a natural area. In fact, it has significant wind damage from Tropical Storm Irene and Storm Alfred that followed. So there's a lot of trees down in that area that eventually might be cleared out, but it is more of a natural area as part of the entire Swychik project.
Comments?
Hi, Stacy DiMaggio. I live at 118 Oxbow Lane, and I am 100% for the dog park. I am a responsible dog owner. But in addition to that, think about the good that it can do for our community. With more people coming into our small community, that can increase the economic in regards to gas stations, restaurants, and just bringing in more social activity for Northford. In addition to, there are a lot of people that have a lot of land. I live next to 15 open acres of space, and yes, there's a lot of dogs that run in that area. It's not contained, it's not safe, and it's not sanitary. I want to bring my dog where there's somewhere safe for her to run around and socialize with other dogs. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to make one more comment. Who's going to monitor this park, and who's going to stop people from other towns coming to this park. So is the town going to hire somebody to monitor this park? Are they going to have somebody at the gate, you walk into this park? I mean, is it for the town only, or people can come and just use it on their own? There's still a maintenance. I don't care what you say, there's still a maintenance. The town has to maybe hire another employee to maintain this thing. I mean, it's another job. So you want another job and benefits and things like that? I mean, are you just going to take a guy from our Works Department and just have him take care of it? Does the town need another expense? I don't know if these people are going to make a kitty and pay so much to the town every year to pay for this. I don't know where that's coming from. Sounds like they're going to start it up, and then after that, the town takes it over. Thank you.
Who's gonna clear that land out, Rich, and get all that ready?
That would be part of the development cost. Fencing, and I believe there's a development budget that would be
So
established.
you're saying Unleashed would be carrying that cost?
I think that what North Branford Unleashed is interested in doing is raising funds for the development. And
Right. So they'll take care of the cost of getting the whole thing up and running?
That, to me, that's my presumption at this point.
It's woodland now, though?
I wouldn't classify it as woodland. There are some trees. It's kind of mixed at this point. And this would be a location, we'd want to have some mature trees left so that there would be some shade. It wouldn't be a total blank field. It would be within that area.
How would we monitor people from going on the ball fields, or, you know, that are going already? Are we going to have a way to steer people from going on to, you know, it was mentioned that, you know, there's dogs going on
Well,
to...
it's gonna be away from the ball fields, right?
No, but people are already doing that, so how are you...
What's going
you
to
know,
stop the people from doing what
What's
they're already
going to stop
doing?
them from already what they're doing? You know, if it's closer to their house to go to the ballpark, are our police going to arrest them or tell them they have to go?
You would hope that since we had a dog park, they would go use our dog park.
I know, but you know how, I mean, how do you monitor, how do you monitor that? How do we get, you know?
Flyer.
I think that this idea of having to monitor a park, every park, Northford Park isn't monitored, and people are allowed to bring their children to the park. I think we're kind of missing the point. Dog parks aren't really for the dogs. Dog parks are for the owners. It's a place for the owners who pay taxes to get together to have a social experience with the other citizens and with their dog.
The dogs want to be social too.
Well, the dogs need to be social. My dog has a better social life than I do. I take my dog to the daycare because I work all the time. I would like to have a place in town where I could go and meet with other people and enjoy each other's company. In terms of monitoring the park, I think if we set the park up and we enforce the rules and we put up good signage where people know that they're liable for their actions, I think we want more people to come to town. Many people in this room go to Hamden, go to other towns. We pay money in their towns for food, for gas, etc. Why not bring people to our town and showcase what we have?
Branford's got a nice dog park too.
I'm sorry?
Branford has a nice dog park too.
Well, that's great, but let's bring the Branford people and have them spend their money in our town. I think that that's fine. This is not a new concept. I don't think that, we're not breaking ground here. We're not creating something new. We're just trying to create something that's going to make the town better. This doesn't seem like something that's all that novel or out of the ordinary.
So, in looking at the budget, and, you know, I mean, I'm fortunate, I take 2 dogs to work with me every day, so, you know,
Yeah.
I love dogs. But in looking at the budget, we're looking at,
This is actually an agenda item, so we can move on and get back to this. I mean, this is public statement,
oh,
so we don't even need to get
Okay.
into all this right now.
all right, I'll get into it when it's on the agenda. Good idea.
So are there any other citizen statements that aren't like repetitious? I mean, we've heard opposed and for. Okay. Moving on to 8, resignations and appointments. Reappointment, Councilor Joanne Wentworth to East Shore Public Health District Board of Directors, term to expire 6/30/2015.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Angeloni, seconded by Councilor Fawnin. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Duty?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Fucci?
Yes.
Counselor Wentworth?
Abstain.
Item B, Appointments Emergency Communications Committee.
I'll make the following appointments. You want to do it one by one, or can we do it as a group? We can do it as a group.
We could do it as a group.
Anthony Candelora, Michael Duty, David Colombo, Joseph Civitello, Andrew Campion, Matthew Kennelly, William Seward, and Anthony Esposito. To the Emergency Communications Committee for an appointment to expire December 31st, 2012.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Duty, seconded by Counselor Angeloni. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Duty?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Fucci?
Yes.
Counselor Wentworth?
Yes.
Item 9, unfinished business, discussion and action regarding A, Charter Revision Committee appointments.
I have the appointments for our charter revision, our nominations. I'd like to nominate Roger Monk of 17 Walnut Lane to serve as a regular member of the Charter Revision Committee.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Duty?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Fucci?
Yes.
Counselor Wentworth?
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Joseph Fawnin of 50 Acorn Lane, Northford, to be a regular member of the Charter Revision Committee.
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Duty?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Abstain.
Counselor Fucci?
Yes.
Counselor Wentworth?
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Anthony Candelora of 10 Briarwood Drive, North Branford, to be a regular member of the Charter Revision Committee.
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Abstain.
Deputy Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Duty?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Fucci?
Yes.
Counselor Wentworth?
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Pat Young of 80 Bailey Drive, North Branford, to be a regular member of the Charter Revision Committee.
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Duty?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Fucci?
Yes.
Counselor Wentworth?
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Penny Seaman of 196 Sea Hill Road, North Branford, to be a regular member of the Charter Revision Committee.
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Duty?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Fucci?
Yes.
Counselor Wentworth?
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Ken Imparato of 55 Oxbow Lane, Northford, to be a
Second.
regular member of the Charter Revision Committee.
Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Duty?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Fucci?
Yes.
Counselor Wentworth?
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Stephen Onofrio of 27 Marjorie Drive to be a regular member of the Charter Revision Committee.
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Duty?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Fucci?
Yes.
Counselor Wentworth?
Yes.
I would like to amend the Charter Revision Commission original motion to add 2 alternates to the Charter Revision Commission in case a member drops out.
I'll second that motion.
John, is that allowed to have alternates on this committee? You know?
Well,
It's a question that came up, so.
I don't see it in the statute. This is a statutory proceeding. We're accustomed to forming boards and commissions and appointing people and replacing them. But This is a statute that allows you to pick 5 to 15 people. It does not provide for alternates or a procedure to appoint somebody in the event that somebody is necessarily absent for whatever duration. The interesting question is what happens if you have a 7-person panel? What happens if you go below 5? Do you still have a legitimate charter revision commission? But you've chosen to have 7, and we don't have to talk about that unless we have that as an issue. But
if a person drops out, can we replace them?
Once again, I would say that's what we're used to, because that's what our charter would provide when we replace members of boards and commissions. But this statutory commission does not have any provision for that. And perhaps that's the reason why it gives you such a wide leeway in terms of the number of people you can appoint.
Because some of the commissions do have alternates though, right? Like our,
yeah, they sure do.
Building.
They sure do, and I understand the thinking.
Yeah.
But once again, we're not, this commission is not being spawned from our charter. Nothing that we're doing with this commission comes from our charter. It comes from a state statute.
Okay.
And in the absence of any discretion, I would have to recommend that you interpret it strictly.
So then we're done.
Then,
It's just my opinion.
Okay, then I'll withdraw my motion.
I have a question for you, John. Can you, serving on this committee, and this was brought to my attention today, but you said in that statute somewhere, they can't serve on any other board or commission in the town other than the town council members?
Could you say that again, Al? The statute provides for...
Nobody else could, none of these people can be sitting on any other committee in town?
Well, the statute talks about having a maximum of 1/3 of the people on this charter revision
So
being
1/3 of the
served.
people could serve on another board?
Right, so you've picked 7, and if I counted correctly, 2 of those 7 are members of
Town council.
the town council, so that's within the 1/3. If you went to 3 out of the 7, you'd be above that 1/3 total. So if you went to the 15, you could have as many as 5. Again, that's the prescribed procedure by the legislature.
Okay.
And the reason that this question came up is because at the last council meeting, we had 14 people that were nominated from council members to serve on the Charter Revision Committee. But because of this, of it being a 7-member committee and there's 2 council members on that committee, so some of the names that were nominated last time were not eligible to be actually voted on because they serve on other boards or commissions already in town. And so that's why they were precluded from the actual vote tonight.
All right, so we can move on.
Now, what's the next step? The next step is to call the committee together and have your first committee meeting?
well then, for discussion's sake, are we happy with the 7 then?
Correct time.
Well, it's done.
We're good?
It's
Okay.
done.
They can
Yeah.
consider anything.
I want them to have them meet because they'll lose time if they wait, you know?
You ought to have an organizational meeting as soon
That's
as
what
possible.
that's what I meant, an organization.
Time limit issue as well.
What?
There's a time limit
Right, we need to
issue.
get this rolling, guys.
For
get
a
rolling
report
now.
back, normally you would prescribe to the commission that is appointed a time limit to respond.
We want this on the November ballot.
Right, so we need
Can
to,
we set up an organizational meeting for
Right, we
7
need an-
members?
you need an organizational meeting, and then
ASAP?
we can make a packet with some of the proposed already
Does the
charter
council have to make a
revisions.
motion as to what we would like them to consider, even though we know that the whole charter is up? or no?
We could probably give them suggestions, I'm sure.
I would defer to the town attorney.
Well, you're going to probably make suggestions to the commission, and then they have the ability to make additional proposals.
Then we have to vote on it.
And bring it back to the council. They have 16 months to come back with a draft proposal to the council. And in between that time, there are a couple of hearings that have to take place.
But it's the goal of the council that we would like, can we state that we would like it to be on the November ballot to be ready to go to
Absolutely.
referendum at that, so that's their time frame, meeting all of the requirements of public hearings and time limits and everything else.
You absolutely have the right to specify the time when you want it back, as long as it's not longer than 16 months.
Well, we got 7 months until November. That should be plenty of time.
Yeah, but there's a lot of timing dates that you have to make sure.
There's
So the commission might actually only have a couple months to meet.
That's why we need to get it started and rolling.
Why don't we just?
Why don't we designate an organizational meeting date in the near future, allowing sufficient time for Richard's office to put together a package of all the pertinent literature, the memo we got from John, copy of the state statute, the recommendations we got from Lisa Valenti, any recommendations from the town council, and set an organizational meeting, get everybody together, we'll elect a chairman, and get the ball rolling.
Good idea.
Richard was good enough to send us a letter attached, or a paper attached to the nominations of the 7 things that we brought up, and actually 5 and 2 that the town clerk brought up that need to be looked at.
Right.
So it's right attached to your,
Right.
It's part of the packet, the council's recommendations.
Yeah, all that literature ought to be in there,
Yeah.
a full package of everything pertinent to the committee.
All right. So you'll take care of that, right?
Well, we probably have to tell Richard what date we want to do this. Pick a date.
why don't we do it earlier, about an hour before the next council meeting?
That's probably a good idea.
Which is April 3rd.
April 3rd?
Is the next council meeting.
Why don't we do it at 6 o'clock and meet with, have the organizational meeting and tell them that what we want them to look at, and give them their packet.
So is that meeting gonna be with us or just themselves?
Well, it's already in our packet what we wanted them to look.
Right, we have them.
I still got a few more suggestions.
We should meet with them and let them get organized and pick a chairman and whatever they have to do.
Like, some of these things aren't exactly as we had talked about them, they, you know.
The last 2 are from the town clerk. It's something that,
So, we, you know, I don't know if we need to correct them or add to them, or.
well, why doesn't Richard send them out again in the email to us and make any corrections that you want to have made to it and send it back? Is that a nice meeting? No?
One that jumps out at me was the one for the Board of Education.
Yeah.
You know, looking at it to make it an odd number of members, but we also were looking at it to make it, you know, make them take office at the very first meeting.
Yeah, we can add that
That's
to
the
it,
next-
too.
It's terms of office.
Oh, that's second item, got it. Right. We want to make sure of that. That way you don't have people who just voted out.
Right, well, we can get all that straightened out at that organizational meeting, too. We just want to get this rolling so we can get going, pick a chairman and get going. That's what we need to do. All the ideas we have, we can throw at them, that's not a problem.
Well, we're not part of the committee, so the organizational meeting that the committee would be at, the rest of the council are not members, so we would have to do that
We could be in the audience, though.
prior to their meeting.
Yeah, I'm sure they could take suggestions from us if we were sitting there. They might talk to us, hopefully.
You want to make sure that when you add up all the timelines, that you come out within 7 months, your
Right.
7 months. Because the statute, it talks in terms of not later than or within 45 days. And if you go to the limit on each one, you know, it'll be next Christmas.
Right.
So I think the organizational meeting should actually really pin down where in that period you're going to be submitting it as a draft proposal, when in that period you're going to have a hearing. Oddly enough, there's no particular time limit for the council to submit its questions, but you want to do that as soon as possible.
Next week.
There's your
I'm a
chair.
little bit concerned that we've got a lot of organizational work to do to get it done in an hour before the town council meeting, which is going to be a public hearing for the budget.
Right, I mean, it's,
Do it on
Even
the
though the
Monday
idea of
before
doing
the
it at
council
one
meeting.
trip to town hall, it's probably not enough time.
no.
Do it on the Monday before, maybe?
Richard?
Mr. Mayor, for the record, since one of the potential items for consideration involves Article 6 of the Charter, which is relative to my office, I'm going to ask the town clerk to serve in my stead for service to the commission.
Okay.
You're going to do that to Lisa?
Volunteer almost.
Well, I think we need to contact all 7 members and put this packet together and have an organizational meeting.
I'll work with Lisa to get the organizational meeting scheduled. I'll send an email to all the members, and
Right.
there'll be a letter of appointment with an oath of office.
Okay.
Good.
You're all right, Brannigan, I don't care what everybody said about you.
All right. Okay, we're going to move on to item B, the North Branford High School roof project.
For the council's benefit, we are working on the RFQ for the second phase, and as I think I mentioned earlier, we have some documentation to move forward on the initial phase, the EDO 42 signature. I'll share that with Mr. Winnicki if he's here after the meeting. We're looking to get a signature from the superintendent of schools for submission to the state school facilities unit before George Cordovin retires. Seminac, I'm sorry, George. Okay. So other than that, that project is moving forward, and the budget request in the capital budget from the Board of Education includes the second phase of funding.
Item 10, new business, discussion, and action.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to amend the agenda to add item G. At our desk tonight, we received a memo in regards to a proposed motion, and it's for the tennis court refurbishment. So I'd like to add item G, tennis court refurbishment.
I'll second that motion.
Moved by Councilor Angeloni, seconded by Councilor Fawnin. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Duty?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Fucci?
Yep.
Counselor Wentworth?
Yes.
Okay. Item A, Dog Park, North Branford Unleashed, authorization for fundraising activities. Now we can get back to the dog park.
So I'll pick up where I left off.
Okay.
So, in their budget, they say they're gonna raise about $20,000, and they have 2,000 linear feet of chain link fence. So, because it's a big dog park and a little dog park, you would assume that's probably about a 3-acre site. If you use 2,000 linear feet and you went around 500 by 500, you'd have 250,000 square feet, or about 6 acres. So, but we're splitting it. So if you cut that in half, we must be around 3 acres. I don't see any place that this thing is gonna get, so we've got down trees, we've got stumping, grubbing. I'm gonna assume the dogs aren't gonna play on the stumped and grubbed land, that it's gonna have to be seeded around these shade trees and stuff. And, if we're gonna do 3 acres at the cost of the rest of the Swychuck baseball fields, this thing, we could be looking at $300,000-$400,000 to grade this thing. Now, I know that's being excessive,
but if you did it at the same rate, so I guess I'm gonna go to Franny on, because I know it's gonna dump on him. What level is this thing getting finished to?
We really haven't had any discussion, but there's not gonna be any grass, as far as I know.
So there's no grass, so, and I haven't looked at this site, but is this, so was this woodland, was it farmland that's?
Second growth land, I mean, yeah, it's
Second-
wooded right now.
So it's wooded, so it can stay wooded? You're gonna just clean up the down trees?
I think the plan was, I'm speaking, I mean, I really haven't gone over plans with everybody, I think we're gonna do select.
Well, I just don't wanna vote on something if we're gonna have $100,000 site work to get it ready. That's where I'm coming from.
It's gonna be selective clearing, we're gonna leave big trees up, it's gonna be pretty natural, and I think it's mostly, and I'm speaking what I thought, I don't know if somebody else wants to talk about it, but it's gonna be mostly mulch, I think, and some, I think stone path or something like that, so there's no grass. And then you're just gonna put the fence up, and I'm not sure how it's divided up, or, you know, I only know a little bit about it, but it's not a huge.
So what does that entail for maintenance?
For us?
For us, yeah.
For us, probably once a year, maybe just, maybe put more mulch in. I mean,
So it's not a big deal.
What I was told is not a weekly, monthly,
Right.
things, they're supposedly doing all the cleaning up and.
Right, well, it's just,
Am I gonna go down and check?
is this all gonna be like in writing and stuff, who's responsible for what and everything else? I mean, we need to just make sure that we're protecting the rest of the citizens of the town, we're not spending a ton of money on this. I'd love to do this, I got a 100-pound boxer who would love to go to a dog park. Let me tell you, and he's like a baby.
I gotta defer, because I wasn't involved in the whole planning, but that's what I understood was.
Yeah, but you know it's gonna land on you.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got big shoulders, Frank.
Yeah.
I knew that.
And then, Richard, maybe either you or somebody from the group.
I will.
How do these poop collection centers work? They need to be cleaned out, are they biodegradable?
He's asking you, Brandon,
maybe
you must know
you're-
about
That's
that.
a question for the town engineer. The town manager.
I'd love to answer a lot of these questions. I've learned a lot about dog parks over the past six months. And the first thing is that in terms of the clearing of the land, that we can design this in a way that you want to have shade in the park, and then you also, really, the cost is the fence. And we have a ton of wood chips in town. And I think that the overall maintenance, the most important ingredient of a dog park is the people that understand the temperament of their dogs and are responsible for their dogs. And I think the court of public opinion will cause people to do a good job maintaining the park. We already have set up an organization. We're trying to do the best we can. We want to be as obvious as possible. We will help raise money as much as possible. But of course, I can't predict how much things are going to be.
No,
Go
what
ahead.
structure is your organization? What kind of organization is it?
So we want to have a club similar to the.
Is it like a nonprofit type thing?
So the point is, if we make a nonprofit, it's a town park. The town, I think, needs to own the park so that the town can close the park. As soon as we create this kind of dual thing, then we're going to have something that things can split.
What exactly you guys are.
Yeah, so exactly what I was recommended to do through the Parks and Rec Committee was to create a club, which we made bylaws, which are included in your packet, which are talk about all of our responsibilities. We've elected officers. We've said what we will be responsible for. In terms of the day-to-day maintenance, that I think that is going to be a cost. But the reality is that other parks have maintenance costs.
Right, but Franny said it's only, the town's end of it's only like once a year.
Well,
Probably the dog owners would be
Right.
responsible for the cleanup daily.
Well,
and
in
all
reality,
that
I think
stuff.
that I had been talking to, actually, if you know the organization Sarah, that they have business opportunities for people, and that actually cleaning up the dog waste every day would be something that we would be able to fundraise towards. I think that would be a very reasonable way. I think there are reasonable ways to address all of these problems. I think just by saying no because it's new and different is really going to keep us back where we were.
I don't want to say no, I'd love to say yes, but.
So, maybe you misunderstood my question. The poop collection, so there's these plastic bags available, and you get them and you put them in this thing.
Yeah.
How often do they have to be cleaned out?
So probably you'd want to clean them up every day or two.
Okay, so who would clean them out, and where do you discard?
Right, so all waste in Connecticut gets burned, and so they would be disposed of in dumpsters. what I had just mentioned before is that a possible, I mean, this is all open for negotiation, but it's possible that we could contract with an organization like Sarah that looks for opportunities to go and help, and kind of, this would be one job that they might do twice or 3 times per week.
So just to be clear on it then, so your organization's not you're looking to clean up the park and put them in this collection thing, but it's your understanding that then if Sarah or no organization did it, then it would be up to Public Works to empty this and put it in a
Well, if there's a
dumpster
dumpster that's located nearby, then I think that we'd be very comfortable. We have many people in our organization that want to be involved. I think that organizing volunteers to be able to empty the bins into a dumpster that would get emptied once per week, I think is a reasonable thing. I personally do not have any children. I am paying a lot of taxes to support lots of opportunities and recreation activities for people with kids. That's what builds a good town. I believe in that. And I think that coming up with there are as many kids in town as there are dogs in town. I think that this is, and dog owners, I think that we really need to kind of look at this as something that improves the community for everyone, and not just as the ways that we can say no.
So, thank you for answering that. I still am hung up on the cost of developing the site. So I'm wondering if maybe by the next meeting, Franny and Richard could come up with an estimate, because I mean, we're either gonna have to have Public Works do it, or are you thinking of incorporating it into the ball field?
There is no plan to incorporate this into the ball field development project at this point in time.
Okay.
What you have in front of you is an opportunity to create a special revenue fund, similar to what we have at the senior center and the recreation center and so forth, that contributions could be made to. The question is, at what point in time do you start to expend money out of that? And the ball field, the fencing estimate of $20,000 is for 2,000 linear feet.
Well, that was 12,000 for that. They had the double gates are 3,000, a bulletin board 500, signage 1,500, the collection system's 2,000.
If you'd like us to take a short
Well, I think
look at that.
before I can vote for it, and like I said, I have dogs with me all the time.
I have 2 dogs myself, so I'm
But
not.
before I could vote for it, I would not vote for it blindly, saying, okay, this is great, we raised 20,000 and we get what we need for the park, the fence, the benches, the poop collection, and all that. But somehow this thing needs to be put into shape, and there is a cost to that, and I just want to know what it is. And can Public Works do it? And, which we know they can. I don't know when, but I know they can. But what is the cost to it? Is it 5,000, 10,000, 50,000? So I need to know that, and I'm only speaking for myself now. If people want to put it to a vote tonight, then all you need is 5 votes, and it would go forward tonight. I personally would like to know what it's going to cost
I would.
to develop the site before I vote on it.
I'd absolutely endorse Al's comments, but I also have another concern, which is there's going to be an effort to raise funds. I assume it's not going to happen in one windfall, that $20,000 is going to show up in this fund that Anthony's going to supervise from Town Hall. What happens if the fund doesn't reach that threshold of $20,000, assuming we're comfortable that that's an adequate cost for constructing this park? If we come up short, is the town going to be looked to make up the shortfall? If not, what do we do with this fund? You said there's a similar fund with the Recreation Department and other committees in town. Well, those are ongoing, active committees that those funds are not specifically earmarked for a specific project. Here, we've got a startup committee that if it's not fully funded, and if the town's not going to pick up the shortfall, we might be in a situation where the town has $12,000, $13,000 in funds, not enough to construct a dog park, and these have been donations accepted by the town under the premise that there would be a dog park. What do we do with that money at that point? And I'd love to hear your response to that if you have one.
Good question.
I think that's before Dr. Hodgson responds, I think that is a legal question more than anything. It's not just a financial question. It's a question that needs to be put formally to the town attorney. And with your permission, we'll do that.
Go ahead, John.
That's an important question.
Is it possible to take donations sort of with a contingency plan so people know up front that if this doesn't go through, that the money would then go to the, something else that we could specify?
Well, we sign a lot of leases here with companies, and we signed, actually, we have a couple of generator use agreements on the agenda coming up here. And some of these leases are very one-sided, and they give the power to the provider, in this case, after you go through this, all the fine print. The bottom line is they can end the lease whenever they want. In this case, every year they have the right to terminate the lease. Okay? So as everyone is speaking here, I'm thinking that there ought to be some kind of a document that makes it very clear that, and I don't think that folks who are in favor of this dog park have a problem with this, that if the town always has a right, since it's their park, to pull the plug. It's simply not working out. Now, as far as the funds go, the town is going to be involved as holding on to these funds. And, you know, I'd be interested in seeing how these things develop, because it seems to me there isn't just one cookie cutter dog park. I mean, you could just go there right now, just as it is right now, and call it a dog park. If you have $5,000, you can do some other stuff with it. If you have $10,000, you can do some other stuff with it. I'm not sure that there's any defined definition of what a dog park has to look like. So whatever money you may collect, you understand that that's the degree of dog park you're going to have.
Well, the other thing to what Joe was saying is, at what point do you say, we're going to start spending money? I mean, how long do you fundraise? How long do you?
Well, I think the first thing you can do, I mean, I have no idea what the geography of this area looks like, but I'm not sure there's any danger with people going there right now designated as a dog park. And then over time, with whatever funds they have, they can add amenities, or they can improve the property.
Well, the thing is, we don't have to complete this project and start up the dog park until we have all the money necessary either, right?
I mean, that would all be part of the understanding, but the tricky thing is why I guess there's going to have to be some kind of of an identity of this organization for the town to have privity with. If we're going to be talking about when do the monies get expended, who do we notify if we decide to pull the plug, or if we have a better use that we want to make of that area, we're going to have an entity that we're going to have to be bound with, if you will. So I mean, I don't know anything about dog parks, but my guess is, hearing Franny say that it would, in his impression, from the little discussion he may have had, is that his responsibility is going to be very limited, maybe once a year. This gentleman's testimony has been that the same people who are anxious to have this dog park are also going to be willing to volunteer to pick up, you know, the refuse and deposit it at a designated dumpster. So it seems like there's something there that you know, that can be worked out, but I think it is going to call for a document so that everybody feels comfortable.
I think one of the main reasons we wanted to have a fund within the town is that because, of course, people are going to donate money, and if you donate money to the town, then you get a tax benefit for that. I mean, it's also possible that we don't do that. I mean, and that you would approve the concept of a dog park, and then we go until we have a certain amount of money. I mean, I think it's better to have it within the town, because I think people will donate money and would like a tax break, personally.
Yeah, this is coming from our Parks and Rec Commission. So we have an agency already in charge of this. And, you know, we just authorized a couple of council meetings ago an independent, quote, subcommittee of Parks and Rec to run the Potato and Corn Fest. So this is not, unusual, I don't think. I think this is first and foremost, a project of our Park and Rec Commission, over whom we have direct, supervision.
I would say that this is not my proposal, this is not my group's proposal, this is Parks and Rec's proposal. They agreed to the proposal, and it's my understanding that they own this proposal. I'm not sure, I feel like I'm defending something that is their proposal, because I'm very passionate about this, but still, I think that it's a Parks and Rec's.
Is there anyone here from Park and Rec tonight?
I can speak to that. And I was at the meeting where the concept of the dog park was approved to go to the town council for the fiduciary opportunity that they're looking for, and the ability to raise funds. The town council has had the proposal to look over and to review, but for the benefit of for those who are not in attendance at the Park and Rec Commission, they listened to the proposal. Dr. Hodgson did a very good job of bringing forth the majority of the issues. There were some details clearly that were not addressed at the Parks and Rec Commission level that still need to be addressed, and that's why we're really having the discussion here this evening. But the Parks and Recreation Commission blessed the concept of moving a dog park forward to the town council level so that it could be acted upon and the money aspect of it could be arranged. But clearly there are other issues that have yet to be addressed, and I think this is the time to address it, because it's not the Parks and Rec Commission that would be holding the money necessarily. It's the town council that would have to approve the expenditure of those monies ultimately, because this would qualify as a capital project ultimately. So I think we have a handle on a number of the issues that have been raised here this evening. I think we can rely on some of the volunteers, not just Franny and I, but we can reach out and talk to some of the other communities. Rather than reinvent the wheel, there are other communities that have had dog parks for several years and that have had organizations come before them and move these dog parks forward. So we don't need to reinvent any of that, and we do have contacts with various communities around the state. So we're willing to do whatever we can, and I'm sure the good doctor would meet with us.
So would this have to be referred to planning and zoning, even if we decided to, I mean, it actually would, everything goes there.
I think ultimately, before anything is developed there, it would require at a minimum an 8-24 referral. It's not in the wetlands area. We talk conceptually about the location, but there could be other locations if that doesn't work.
So the main regular cost of this would be the dumpsters for the waste, right? Is what that would be? There's going to be dumpsters for the waste? Is that how they're getting rid of it? Or there's just going to be cans for it?
Well, you probably could put one can up there. I mean, we have cans at every sports field.
Yeah, it says there's going to be cans there.
So, I mean,
have we gotten a quote for the fence? Do you have actual quotations for the fence?
Without having a real plan, the majority of the cost of the project is the fence.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about $15,000. One thing, donating this to the town, also you could have people donate the fence to the town. I mean, that's the majority. It's hard without a specific plan, but right now you can't start collecting money unless we have approval, and unless we have approval, we can't really do much. So we're just kind of stuck.
I think what
But
we
you
need
have-
to get the
Sir.
requisite approval to start collecting money is.
I'm sorry,
more
sir.
Sir, can you identify yourself?
Colin Johnson.
Thank you.
76 Clear Lake Road. I think we need to have a more solid estimate on the fence. And once that's reached, and then the town council can dictate at what point the fundraising has to get before anything starts. If you know what the fence is going to cost, and that's the biggest part of it, then you have a basis to tell the club what they need to do.
Yeah, we need to lay out a little bit of a plan, you know.
As far as the waste is concerned, if you've been to the Hammond Dog Park or the Branford Dog Park, you don't see waste there. You don't see containers for the waste. Most dog owners will go there and let the dog run around, clean it up, and then, quite frankly, take it with them. and you dispose, I don't know where you dispose of it. But it's not a huge amount of waste that we're talking about. It's not something that's going
I
to...
got a way out. Richard, I think what we need to do is maybe get a clearer estimate on the fence, a layout, some type of layout of what you're looking to do, because I'm sure there's got to be a layout. You said you've researched other dog parks. So if we could get a possible layout of, you know, either from Franny or Kurt, of a layout of how this thing would look, so we can get an idea how much the fence will cost, small dog, big dog, and then we can come back and make an intelligent decision as
What
how
will
much.
it cost to get up and running?
What it'll cost to get up and running, and that way, and then maybe Joe's question can be answered a little easier.
And one other thing I might suggest, and that is some verbiage in agreement between the council and the HUD as to when the council can say, no, it's not working. Something, and it can be very general, and it doesn't have to put a lot of obligation on the town, but something that clearly authorizes the town without question, so the town is not going to be at risk.
Sure.
That they could say, no, this isn't working, we're closing it down.
Okay, thank you.
And finally, verbiage to the point of what is to be done with funds if we don't raise sufficient amount.
Right.
And to me, there's a couple of options. It could be refunded to the donors. It could go to the ASPCA or something like that. Or it could go to the Recreation Department of the town for, at whatever level of discretion for the town to expend.
Sure.
Well, there's no time limit on raising the money either, right?
Yeah, can I have a motion?
You could include a time limit on that.
You want something in regards to dog park?
It takes a year, it takes a year.
All right, I'm gonna let Cliff come up, and then we're gonna move on. After we table this.
I didn't realize it was going to be public comment before everybody leaves. I'm pro-dog, but I'm also pro-concern for the town. And I've been sitting here with an open mind and a closed mouth. Well, I'm up here with an open mind and an open mouth. We know we have a terrible ATV situation in that whole area. If you put a nice chip path there, they're going to love that. I mean, you know, if they're walking, people are walking dogs, we still got to get this ATV situation under control, which it isn't at any point, even close to being under control. Who can access this park? I mean, if you, like somebody from North Haven is on their way to Branford to go to the park and they see this one, how are we going to police that?
It's open to everyone.
We want them to be an open park.
Okay.
Open to the public.
All right. Now, insurance. Who covers, what's the insurance?
Dog owners are liable for their own.
So in other words, you're going to charge these people insurance for a North Haven homeowner to walk his dog?
No, there is no insurance.
There is no
There's no insurance. The dog owner is responsible for his dog. It's got to be on his
Even
insurance.
if the dog owner walks dog, falls down, breaks his leg on town property?
The dog owner is responsible. That's the law.
Okay.
Our life.
Okay, now, the dog walker comes to walk the dog, but he brings the family, and he's not from town. Does that family get to use the ball fields? Because they're going to have to go through the ball fields to get to the dog park. Now, have we opened up our ball fields to out?
Well, that's why we're saying we want to see
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These are
plans.
house.
Right, we need to see a little more before we can make a decision,
So that's what
exactly.
I'm saying. I'm not against the dog park, but if it's not controlled and not monitored, we open a real big can of worms.
Right, I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cliff. All right, can I have a motion to,
I'd like to table this motion to the next meeting so that the town manager has time to gather the information we've requested.
moved by Councilman Angeloni, seconded by Deputy Mayor Rose, roll call?
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Duty?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Pucci?
Yes.
Counselor Wentworth?
Yes.
Item B, relocation of the community center and senior center to the Stanley T. Williams resolution.
This actually encompasses 3 different items on your agenda. After the last meeting, there was discussion regarding obtaining bond resolutions from the town bond council which you have attached to the first item, 10B. And that authorizes $293,000, which is the additional cost above the amount of the STEEP grant to retrofit Stanley T. Williams for the community center and senior center. So the first item, again, 10B, is to pass the resolution that basically opens the door to fund that $293,000. The second part, small I and small, or 1 and 2, I should say, I'm sorry, encompasses that balance of $351,000 that's left in the library project. And you'll notice that there are two pieces to that puzzle. There is a piece that is the bonded portion, for $36,000. That's the motion 10B1. And then the second motion goes to the balance of the money in the 453 fund, the library construction fund, and distributes that. You see on that second page, $256,000 of the non-bonded funds, leaving $58,000 as a balance. $52,000 then going towards Commerce Drive as part of the simulcast grant program. Total cost to encompass that is $72,000. There's a $20,000 prior capital project we're going to use, so we need $52,000 of these funds to accomplish the task in total. And that leaves $6,133 as a remaining balance that is being earmarked for hose replacement. So, in effect, again, there's the initial motion 10B, which is the bond council resolution that opens the door to use the bond funds as well as other funds to finish the Stanley T. Williams conversion project. And then the two other motions, the first being to transfer the remaining bonded funds from the library towards Stanley T. Williams. And then the last motion takes care of the rest of the money in that library fund, and ultimately the last line closes out the fund, which is the council's typical procedure.
This is going to complete the job and get us in that building?
Yeah. That's what
Yes.
Yes.
I'll move the resolution appropriating $293,000 for the relocation of North Branford Community Center to the senior center and senior center to the former Stanley T. Williams School in the town of North Branford, and authorizing the issuance of $293,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, making temporary borrowings for such purpose.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Duty, seconded by Counselor Wentworth. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose.
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni.
Yes.
Counselor Caprio.
Yes.
Counselor Duty.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin.
Yes.
Counselor Fuji.
Yep.
Counselor Wentworth.
Yes.
I move the second motion, here be resolved that North Branford Town Council hereby authorizes Treasurer Finance Director to transfer $36,206.40 of previous bonded funds from the library construction project number 453 to the 2010-2011 Capital Improvements Program Fund number 459 to be used for the Stanley T. Williams conversion project.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Duty, seconded by Counselor Angeloni. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose.
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni.
Yes.
Counselor Caprio.
Yes.
Counselor Duty.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin.
Yes.
Counselor Fuji.
Yep.
Counselor Wentworth.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion, be it hereby resolved that the North Branford Town Council authorizes the Treasurer Finance Director to transfer the remaining non-bonded funds in Fund 453, Library Construction Fund, to the following projects: $256,793.60 to the STW conversion project in Fund 459, $52,000 to the Commerce Drive cell tower cost in Fund 224, and $6,133.62, or whatever the remaining balance is, to fire hose replacement in the General Fund 101-4220-405-0000. Furthermore, the North Branford Town Council instructs the Treasurer Finance Director to close Fund 453 Library Construction Fund.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Angeloni, seconded by Counselor Fawnin. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose.
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni.
Yes.
Counselor Caprio.
Yes.
Counselor Duty.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin.
Yes.
Counselor Fuji.
Yep.
Counselor Wentworth.
Yes.
Item C, generator use agreement, location, Reeves Gap Road, Northford.
You actually have two generator agreements before you. As you are aware, and you approved previously the cell tower agreement for Commerce Drive with Verizon, with the SBA, I'm sorry. This is an agreement that allows the town to tie into the Verizon emergency generator should power go out. There's two agreements. There's one for the site on Commerce Drive, and there's one for the site that is owned by another party. The tower is owned by another party, but the generator is also Verizon up on Reeds Gap Road. We're working with that owner of that cell tower site to formalize an agreement with that owner. There was an initial agreement. There's been some changes made to the Reeds Gap Road tower, some additional equipment being put on there. So that agreement will also be updated and as well sent to the town attorney's office. These two agreements have been reviewed by Attorney Petra Simone at John's office. And as John alluded to earlier, you're basically at the mercy of Verizon. They could say yay or nay at any time, but at least it formalizes the agreement and allows us to tie in and eliminates the need for us to put our own generator in there and saves us a significant amount of money.
Do I have a suggested motion?
I'll move the motion for Reeds Gap Road. Be it hereby resolved that North Branford Town Council authorizes Richard V. Brannigan, Town Manager, to enter an agreement with Verizon Wireless to allow the town to access the emergency generator at the cell tower at Reeds Gap Road, Northford.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion on this? We're good with it. John, were you able to review these?
Yes, we actually got the primary lease. This refers to a primary lease. Before we render any opinion, we got a hold of that and read it, so.
Okay. Motion by Counselor Duty, seconded by Counselor Fucy. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose.
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni.
Yes.
Counselor Caprio.
Yes.
Counselor Duty.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin.
Yes.
Counselor Fuji.
Yeah.
Counselor Wentworth.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we, that the North Branford Town Council authorize Richard Brannigan, Town Manager, to enter into agreement with Verizon Wireless to allow the town access to the emergency generator at the cell tower site at 26 Commerce Drive, North Branford.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Fucy, seconded by Counselor Duty. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose.
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni.
Yes.
Counselor Caprio.
Yes.
Counselor Duty.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin.
Yes.
Counselor Fuji.
Yeah.
Counselor Wentworth.
Yes.
Item E, financial report, February 29th, 2012.
The financial report for February 29, 2012 is unremarkable. Thanks. Couple points I do want to point out just for the sake of the audience. Tax collection rates remain strong, 97.6% of the budget amount this year compared to 97.3% last year. About $254,000 of delinquent taxes compared to $138,000 last year. In general, our revenues are up 87.2% compared to 86.9%, so that's a good thing. And the bottom of the page, our expenditures 66.5% compared to 66.8% the prior year. So everything is running on all cylinders. Things are working well. Any questions?
It's remarkable.
Remarkable.
Approval of tax refunds.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Angeloni, seconded by Counselor Fawnin. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose.
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni.
Yes.
Counselor Caprio.
Yes.
Counselor Duty.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin.
Yes.
Counselor Fuji.
Yes.
Counselor Wentworth.
Yes.
Item G, tennis courts and basketball courts. Motion, proposed motion for authorization to repair and refurbish. town manager's attention, I believe, as of yesterday.
The concept of doing refurbishment on tennis courts is included in the capital plan. It was not funded, so there is a need to perform ongoing maintenance. What the finance director came up with is on the second sheet are all the cash balances in the capital fund. There are two separate appropriations for tennis court related work, and there is sufficient money available to do $10,000 worth of refurbishment that is necessary. Unfortunately, the timing, the last time we did this was June of 2010 at this very location, and it will last a little while, but if you don't approach it at the right time of year, you won't get any mileage out of it whatsoever. We are absolutely at the wrong time of year. We need to wait for the asphalt to warm up, and we will effect temporary repairs for the Public Works Department coordinating a contractor, but the request is to use the capital money that's already incorporated into our capital plan and set aside for this, just to advance that a little sooner and to get the work done. The request has come from the superintendent of schools because the varsity teams are dependent on the courts at Memorial Field and NBIS for play, and the feeling is that without some modification, they won't be available for the teams to play on this year.
Didn't they close that last year? They closed that court in Northford last year?
In Northford, Stanley T. Williams was closed for a time last year and temporarily patched.
And temporary, oh, okay.
It's still
It's
closed.
still closed. It's been closed for a couple of years.
That's what I thought, yeah.
But they're talking Northford Park. Down further, there's 2 tennis courts also.
Memorial Park.
Yeah, I know, but it says 7 tennis courts. There's only 5 at Memorial.
And Northford.
Is,
And the
there's
two
2 at
basketball-
Northford.
And the 2 basketball courts at one at each location. So it would be a total of 7 tennis courts, I believe is what we called out for, and 2 basketball courts.
Yeah.
What are they gonna do to them, just reseal them?
Crack seal and recolor coat the affected areas of the
But
crack
did you
seal.
crack seal last year?
Year
No.
before last, 2010, June.
I was going to say, because the condition they're in now is the same as what they played on last year. At Memorial, all those cracks are still there from last year.
Not like they are now. They're pretty bad right now. They're worse than, a lot worse. I mean, asphalt's shrinking, that's what it does. And there's no permanent patch for it. All you can do is patch it and hope it lasts maybe 2 years, but even that doesn't. The ones that Stanley T. Williams are cracking in.
Oh, yeah, well, those have been.
Last year.
So, you know, look, we did the courts in, I think it was either 96 or 97, so we redid them. So, then we did patching, I think twice.
So Anthony, we have this capital money
That is correct, yeah.
in all these accounts?
That is correct. Typically
Okay.
go through it, and as we close out prior year capital and programs, I just go through and make the list of the items that were out there. And you see in the 4 or 5 accounts that are remaining that I targeted, the various projects that are listed. You'll notice in the motion you passed tonight that that's 2007-8 capital plan did call for a fire radio site in District 1, so that's the 20 that's going towards that Commerce Drive site.
Right.
So that's being used there. The Stanley T. Williams Tennis Court, as Richard also mentioned, is a slight amount on that next year, the 08-09, $3,500 there. So about $21,000 roughly of tennis court money that's previously been earmarked that's out there ready to be used.
I'm gonna make a motion. Do I have to read it, or
No,
is
you
it
can just,
presented?
yeah, as proposed.
So,
Second?
Moved by Deputy Mayor Rose, seconded by Councilor Angeloni. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose?
yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Caprio?
Yes.
Counselor Duty?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Fuji?
Yes.
Counselor Wentworth?
Yes.
Citizen statements and petitions. Having none. Oh, yeah.
Quickly, Liz Kaplan, Old Post Road. I want to say thank you for doing that. I'm one of the volunteer assistant coaches on the girls' tennis team.
And we were out there the other day, and it was in pretty poor shape. And I've been out there the year before, and I just want to say thank you for making that investment. We appreciate it.
Good luck this year. Can I have a motion? Does anybody else have anything?
That's right. Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, can we just clarify for 1 second? Did we do tax refunds?
Yes, we did.
Okay, thank you.
Do you need to know who made the motion? Because I have it written down.
Before we go into executive session, I have just one thing. I was going over the list of appointments. We have this last page of permanent, it's called the Housing Partnership Committee. They were appointed in 1990, and nothing's ever happened to them. I just wondered if we can't find out if we have to keep that committee or not. I have some information for John if he wants to look it over to see. It's just, there's someone on there that died recently.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, and they keep him on. I want to take him off, and then he's going to get off. But I just want to know if it's an important commission. I think the state required that we do it, but I don't know if it's an ongoing thing forever. Or if we have to appoint them again, because it was done in 1990, and it's now 2012. So I don't know.
Just one comment, during community events, it's always good to remind people about the electronics drive, because it's not held a lot, but it's, 2 or 3 times a year, and it is April 7th, and so people like me are cleaning out the cellar and finding extra TVs. You know, it's better to get rid of them at the town garage than to have the town crew have to pull them out of a river or a ditch someplace. So, yeah, the electronics drive, I believe, is the 7th, isn't it? Yeah.
April
It's a
7th.
good deal. It doesn't cost you anything, because I did go to the recycling guy on Zero Road one time, and you end up paying, he charges you, what, by the size? So the town doesn't charge you. You can get rid of a nice, big, old, heavy TV for free. And I think they were so successful last time, they got 3 truckloads full? Tractor. So it's a good thing, so I hope that people support it.
Great. Thank you, Cliff. Okay. Sir? You good? Can I have a motion to go in executive session?
I'll make the
including
motion
The
to
town
go into
attorney and
executive
town
session.
manager. Moved by Councilor Fucy, seconded by Deputy Mayor Rose. Roll call.
Mayor Candelora?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Counselor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor DiCaprio?
Yes.
Counselor Duty?
Yes.
Counselor Swanton?
Yes.
Counselor Pucci?
Yes.
Counselor Wentworth?
Yes.